Perhaps the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Khurshid Mahmud Kasuri, I'll start with you, sir, and ask you, what do you see to be the biggest challenge that Pakistan faces right now?
Having stated that we live in our echo chambers, that we think differently, we have no options, as Vajpayee said. Prime Minister Vajpayee was a wise man. He said, you can change your friends, but not your neighbors. In 2006 August, we had invited him to Islamabad to come and sign the agreement on Sir Creek, and 90% of the issue in Jammu and Kashmir has been resolved. The idea was that since people continue to say that Pakistan and India cannot resolve each other bilaterally, you have to bring in either the World Bank on Indus Basin, or to bring in a tribunal in the run of Kutch. We wanted to prove that they were wrong. We could do things bilaterally. That was a challenge. Okay. So he was going to come in August 2006. Then he said, as usual, India is a huge country. There are some election or the other. 6 elections, including those of UP, were being held. He said, could you postpone the date? Our misfortune was that we said to him, okay, March. I wish we had said to him November, December, January. March is when President Musharraf decided to take on the Chief Justice of Pakistan, and all hell let loose. Okay. Otherwise, the issue was very near a resolution.
I'm going to bring in Reham Khan here as well. You know Pakistani politics from the inside. Every country has messy politics. Literally, every country has it. What would you say is particularly unusual about Pakistan's politics from your perspective?
I think quite the obvious that we've had a very checkered history when it comes to democracy. And I think that there has to be a space created for moderate, sensible voices who disregard jingoism, who disregard democracy and democratic values. So I think that's what's unusual about Pakistan. But in recent times, I think where there has been an increase of, shall we say, dictatorship in Pakistan or a sham democracy, we've also seen the rise of sensible voices. I think that we have to give credit to Pakistani voices, particularly those in the opposition and those in civil society, for actually showing a lot of sensibility.
Salman Bashir, sir, you're the former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan. Do you feel, listening to what has already been said, that things have drifted far apart, that we've lost a time where there were sensible voices, as Reham has indicated?
Well, I think definitely. I think we have lost a lot of time, actually, plus 70 years. Having said that, and having seen the situation, and I believe everybody knows where we are, things have regressed very steeply, very deeply, and the misunderstandings have been blown, to a certain extent. But having said that, as Foreign Minister Kasuri Saab said, he personally invested a lot in peace, in the efforts towards peace. I think, speaking of Pakistan, of the Parliament of Pakistan, of the governments, the present and the past, and having worked and interacted with the parliaments and the political system in Pakistan, I can say with a lot of confidence that we have always been very keen to have good neighborly relations with India.
Mr. Kasuri, we've seen progress sometimes in the past. There's been cricket diplomacy, there's been openness in some areas. There's a lot of cultural integrity often with sharing of, music and art and stuff. What do you see as are the positive areas that the two countries could look at in order to try to at least start to build bridges, even if the politics are quite far apart?
On a more serious note, I would suggest take baby steps, because I've been through it all. The current state of relations is so pathetic. Is the only word. It may be an undiplomatic word. The sort of language that is being used by Delhi and Islamabad about each other, I've never heard it before. That tells you the state of our relations. So those are the baby steps. So let's go for baby steps. We've been through composite dialogue. We've been through comprehensive dialogue. We have no options, by the way, to come without a dialogue, because there's no way you can resolve. So the baby steps are as follows. Number one, there's going to be a Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in in Delhi. Pakistan will be invited because it's a member. I doubt very strongly that Prime Minister Imran Khan will go. It will be a big political risk. But if India were to create a more congenial atmosphere, maybe Pakistan will not boycott and send its foreign minister. So baby step would be to see that something is done, the situation doesn't deteriorate further, and at the foreign ministers conference, what is the other baby step? The most non-controversial is religious tourism. You saw how popular Kartarpur corridor was. When I was foreign minister, I invited Mr. Advani to perform we had restored Katas Raj temple in near Islamabad, and it's about 50 minutes drive from Islamabad. And then there is the very famous temple in Balochistan. And then, of course, the Muslims could be allowed to visit shrines, Hazrat Imamuddin Awliya and Ajmer Sharif.
I think one of the biggest mistakes we've done with vis-a-vis India-Pakistan relationship has been that it's always been very high profile. So I think it doesn't have to be at a prime ministerial level. It doesn't even have to be at the foreign ministry level. I do not agree with cosmetic steps like music and films and art. And I think that the baby steps would include maybe not only business to business, but I think at a lower level connection on trade and commerce. And I think that what America is doing now is, we've seen in the last couple of months, it's replaced China and has become the biggest trading partner with India now. And I think the US is using that economic route. It is natural for us to use the economic route, because although all roads might go to China, but all roads go via Pakistan. So I think that we need to understand the strategic importance of Pakistan as a transit country, and I think that it makes more sense to be building trade relationships, genuine trade relationships between Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan.
Well, my question to you actually, Reham, was going to be about how can a country's politics recalibrate and reset if after 70 years of conflict and tension, the younger generation feels that the politicians are of a certain generation and entrenched in their views. How does it affect the next generation coming up that might be looking to do things differently in a country?
That actually things are going perhaps downhill. And the reason is there is a selfie wannabe politician culture now, where you think that you can be snapped with a politician and then rise up to the echelons of power, and it works. It has been a trend set by the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the PTI, because it was, attracted a lot of youth. But I see that being replicated in other parties as well. It's a sad trend. Genuine leadership, genuine political student workers, genuine party workership, that sort of ethos is completely lost in Pakistan. But I think political representation from constituencies is completely lost in Pakistan. It is, if you know someone, it's a sifarish culture in parties as well. And I've written extensively about this nepotism in the party structure as well. So I think we need to encourage student leadership in universities. We need to encourage a system of candidate selection very similar to the one we have in the UK, where you go through a board where there is limited nepotism, if any. And I think that is what we need. We really need to encourage young leadership. And in recent times in India and Pakistan, we've seen some of the most sensible voices come from women, young women in India and Pakistan, and young people in Pakistan.
So I'll just wrap up with Salman Bashir here on the idea. Can you see a young generation in Pakistan who might go into politics without baggage?
I think so, yes. I think in Pakistan, certainly, because I think for us, generally speaking, the nature of issues is changing. Today everybody, even irrespective of his stature or economic situation, is carrying a cell phone, be it a gardener or peasant or, so they are exposed to the world. I think their way of looking at themselves and their place in the country, in the society, and globally is very different from those of previous years. So definitely this generational change is something that is going to be a reality. Hopefully, it will be good. Hopefully, we will be able to see more clearly the commonalities, the common challenges, be it like the epidemics or the pandemics, or issues like climate change, of water, of drought, of pollution. These are all issues that need to be brought to the surface also in our internal political discussions. And certainly, I think in terms of education and technology, Pakistani society, I see, is changing very fast, and sometimes we get an uneasy feeling because it's different than what it used to be. And I'm sure that's the case everywhere in India and globally. So the septuagenarians, etc., may still be in power in various capitals of the world, but their view of the world and their way of handling it is probably deficient because the challenges, the nature of challenges is different.